What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Pac-Man Polar Bear. Welcome to episode 0, episode alpha of what I hope will become a long-running video series from yours truly. I apologize if the audio and the video quality of this episode isn't super high. That is the goal, but we're not quite there yet. But this episode is more of a dry run than anything else. And the idea behind this series is to do something similar to what we used to do on the Big Red Barrel PlayStation podcast, The Blue Show, in that we used to recap Sony news from the previous week. This show will be about Sony, Xbox, Wii, PC, free-to-play games, mobile games, basically anything cool that happened in the last week. And I will provide links to the relevant topics in the description below. And I'm always down for comments or questions and anything that you think could help me make a better show. Because I'm not doing this show just for myself. Not that I don't have fun doing it, but you know, if no one's enjoying the show, then there's no point in making the show. I do plan on making a secondary video series with video game footage with commentary, maybe some esports coverage, and video reviews. But this show will be basically the news with a Pac-Man Polar Bear twist. You know, just to give me a platform to maybe rant a little bit about certain things or point out the cool things that I wish more people would take notice of, and everything in between. So let's start things off. I'm not going to go through a lot of, you know, best of 2012 stuff, but this is one that I thought was cool. Mod Database released their best mods of 2012, and Mod Database is pretty much, if not the biggest, one of the biggest places for PC gamers who mod to show off their stuff. And I'm not going to go through the whole list, but the top 3 mods from Mod Database for 2012, number 3 was Cry of Fear. And I didn't have a chance to play Cry of Fear yet, but it does look pretty badass, and it's obviously getting a lot of love. Number 2 will surprise no one. If you play PC games, you've heard someone mention it already. DayZ is the number 2 mod of the year from Mod Database, and I'm still to this day terrified of zombies. You know, I've gotten a little better. I play a couple games with zombies. I can do some zombie mode in Call of Duty and a few other places, but I just can't invest in a game that terrifies me. But I mean, DayZ, you know, they've just done so well. You know, it's very impressive. But the number 1 mod of 2012, according to Mod Database's voters, was Black Mesa. And we've been waiting for Black Mesa almost as long as we've been waiting for the new Half-Life episode. And I have played Black Mesa. It's amazing. You know, it's a real accomplishment. You know, a lot of people were involved, a lot of work was involved. It's way beyond what you'll see in your average mod, and I'm really impressed that they actually pulled it off. I mean, it's not perfect, it's not, but you know, to compare Black Mesa to your average mod is like comparing a hurricane to a raindrop. I don't know why I used that example, but I like that example. Anyway, if you want to check out, head over to Mod Database and check out their list of the top mods of 2012. There's some good games in that list, and a lot of mod support for some classics. I think 2 or 3 of the spots in their list of best mods of the year were for Company of Heroes, mods for Company of Heroes. One of the mods, Eastern Front, and a few others are really good, and they're a great way to hold yourself over until the new Company of Heroes comes out. Next up on the list, Blizzard. Blizzard. I knew this was going to happen. Basically what's happened is Blizzard has killed off Team Deathmatch PvP in Diablo 3. Is anyone surprised? Not really. I mean, the old yarn from Blizzard used to be, we don't release games until they're done. And for a while, they really lived up to that. It was one of the it was one of the things that really differentiated them from a lot of other developers. And they basically screwed the pooch with Diablo 3. Diablo 3 was not ready when it was released. You know, the Real Money Auction House was not ready. PvP was not ready. PvP is still not ready, and Diablo's been out for a long time now. And you know, the clout, you know, the standing that Blizzard used to have for not releasing a game until it was done is gone now, because it's, you know, months later. We still don't even have dueling in Diablo 3. Dueling is still coming in an upcoming patch, but Team Deathmatch is out. But months later, you know, Diablo 3's endgame is still non-existent. Any of the long-term appeal for hardcore Diablo fans is gone, because when you remove you know, skill points and the level of character control that we had in Diablo 2, and you go to Diablo 3 and it's basically a game just about gear. There's nothing else to that game except for gear, with no endgame content that's worth playing. You know, at this point, even if they had kept Team Deathmatch, even if they add dueling and it's really great, even if they add some cool endgame content, I'm not going back to Diablo. I had my fill. It's already left a bad taste in my mouth. You know, I got a lot of time out of it. I got my money's worth, but I have no interest in going back to Diablo. And when it comes to Blizzard's next games, my expectations are going to be a lot lower. I still have high hopes for Heart of the Swarm, but you know, Diablo 3 has to go down as one of the most critically acclaimed, well-selling. It sold some good numbers. Disappointing game of the last couple years. Like, it boggles the mind how Diablo 3 could fall so far. Moving on to something a little cooler, is something close to my heart, because I'm 31 years old and I played this game when it came out. Dune 2, which, if you don't know, is pretty much the godfather of modern RTS games. It might not have truly been the first real-time strategy game, but it was the game that got the ball rolling. It was the first commercially successful and popular real-time strategy game. And what's happened is they've put it into the browser. You can now play Dune 2 right in your browser. You go to play-dune.com and you can play the game that started StarCraft and not Call of Duty. I don't even know why I said Call of Duty. StarCraft and Red Alert and Command and Conquer. You know, basically the modern RTS genre. And it's free. You know, it's free to play. And if you've never seen or played Dune 2, it's worth taking a moment to go back and play. Doesn't really hold up in terms of mechanics. You'll notice there's a lot of things that you can't do that are sort of standard in modern RTS games, but it's kind of cool to time travel back and play one of the great classics for free, with there's no microtransactions or anything in it, and it's almost shocking to see something free to play with no microtransactions. The next thing up on the list is something that I know a lot of people have had their eye on, and that is the Ouya Android-based console. And you know, it had its Kickstarter, which was very successful, and Ouya has finally started to send out the dev kits to developers for Ouya. So it's real. I mean, they haven't finalized a few things. So the controllers they're sending out to the devs and the packaging itself will change, the actual case for Ouya and everything else. But the guts of what Ouya is done. It's going up to developers. They're developing games for it. And it's really... It's one of the few things in the gaming landscape in the next year where we don't really know. Is it going to be super successful? I have no idea. It could be. It could be wildly successful. It could totally flop too. It could be middle of the road. We just don't know. But it's no longer a pipe dream. It's actually happening. They've actually built the things. They're actually sending them out to developers. So, you know, at the very least, even if you're not a big fan of Android gaming or any of that kind of stuff, the more, you know, the more people developing games, the more people taking chances, the more people trying new things, the better everything will be. And so I'm really excited to see what Ouya has to offer everybody. Next up on the list, we've got Tomb Raider getting multiplayer. And is that big shocking news? Not really. And I only really mention it because there's a lot of comparisons between Tomb Raider and Uncharted, which is kind of crazy because Uncharted itself was an homage to the old, not just Tomb Raider, but in some ways it was an homage to the old Tomb Raider games, and now the new Tomb Raider is being influenced by Uncharted, which is kind of funny. And I remember when Uncharted 2 got multiplayer, a lot of people were skeptical, and they were able to really put together a fun multiplayer setup. The co-op missions were fun, and the multiplayer matches with the really great maps gave Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 3's multiplayer some legs, and they're actually super fun. People are still playing both. Now, it remains to be seen how well Tomb Raider is going to handle their multiplayer. Whether or not it'll be a similar setup, or are we going to get co-op missions or survival mode, or what we're going to get. And you know, there's always the oh no, if they're making multiplayer, does that mean that they're not concentrating on the single player? And that does happen. Don't kid yourself, that does happen. But it could be great. Uncharted did it, and it was great. And we don't really know how everything's going to turn out with Tomb Raider. Because right now, all we can really do is say Tomb Raider looks really good, and the similarities between Uncharted are cool. It will be great when Tomb Raider's out and standing on its own 2 feet, so that we don't have to use Uncharted as the go-to comparison. I expect Tomb Raider to have its own soul and its own unique take on things. But as far as following the skeleton of what made Uncharted successful, you can't blame anyone for following that same idea, the skeleton that Uncharted has developed as a series. And I mean, Tomb Raider, multiplayer or not, still one of the most anticipated games for 2013 for sure. Speaking of games, 2013 coming up, the trailer for Aliens Colonial Marines, the latest trailer dropped, and I had a little geek out, because I remember going to see Aliens in the theater when I was a kid, and when I saw the newest Aliens trailer and I saw Corporal Hicks makes a cameo appearance, I was like, oh snap! Is that Corporal Hicks? And there's a possibility of Bishop and a couple other characters from the Aliens movie making cameos in the new Aliens game, and it's just awesome. Now, whether or not those cameos are taking place in like video logs left by the soldiers, or they're going to mess around a little bit with information that we don't know that took place between Aliens and Aliens 3, or that happened between Aliens the movie and the beginning of Aliens Colonial Marines the game, we don't really know. But it's cool. I mean, they seem to be very loyal to the Aliens franchise. I expect lots of Easter eggs and little bits of fan service. And even though I've heard some grumbling that how would you say it? That the in-engine cutscenes maybe don't look super beautiful because they're not pre-rendered, super polished cutscenes. That it's unfortunate that the game isn't as pretty as maybe people expect it to be. But in terms of gameplay, in terms of fun, which is the fun factor is the most important thing of any video game. In terms of gameplay, I've heard some really good rumors about some of the smart decisions they've made in terms of AI and in terms of map layouts. And from the people I know who've had a chance to mess around with it, co-op survival mode may be the thing that really keeps this game in the public eye. Because as much as I want to play a new single-player campaign in that universe, you know, the idea of me and 4 buddies or however many buddies fighting wave after wave of xenomorphs, looking at our radars as they go boop, 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 and then like, I can't see any of them, and then you're like, they're under my ground, they're under the ground, they're above us, oh fuck, oh fuck. Like, I can't wait to see that shit. That's gonna be awesome. And you know, I've heard a couple people say that even playing the co-op survival mode, they actually got scared. Or maybe not just, maybe they weren't playing the co-op survival mode, but just playing that game, there was moments where the xenomorphs actually scared them. That's awesome. You know, I mean, the Alien series is definitely one of my favorites, and it's unfortunate that the last couple Aliens games didn't live up to the hype, but this one could really do it. And we only have to wait, you know, a couple more months and it'll finally drop. Next up on the list, we've got Noobz. Now, Noobz is an upcoming movie about video gamers. The latest trailer for Noobz dropped. I tweeted it out to people. My apologies for inflicting it on anyone who actually clicked on the link. You know, Noobz' claim to fame is, you know, Jason Mewes and some cameos by Adam Sessler and a couple other celebrities I don't give a fuck about. But if you watch the trailer, it's just awful. You know, gamers, gamer culture is full of stereotypes and stupid behavior that we all do. I mean, there's tons of material to make jokes about gamers. And you know, I have no problem with people taking a piss when talking about gamers or, you know, just poking fun at us. But this movie is just stupid. It doesn't look funny at all, and you've got to wonder how it got okayed. Because when you think of something like Video Game High School, which wasn't as great as we kind of all hoped it would be from Freddie W. and the crew. But they tried their best with what they had, you know. A lot of them it was their first full-length feature to work on. Whereas Noobz is actually, you know, going to theaters. It's got a budget, maybe not a huge budget, but it's got a budget, and it reeks of the scary movie spoof type movies, which I never find funny. And it's got some almost offensive stereotypes to it if you watch it. And the thing that bothers me the most about Noobz, besides the fact that we're still using that word, is the people I know, people I'm friends with, people I follow on Twitter, people I've actually met in real life, people I talk to on a weekly basis. And I'm not going to name names because they're going to get mad at me anyway. But a fair amount of, you know, quote unquote, you know, blog celebrities, YouTube celebrities, gamers, also make a cameo appearance in Noobz to sort of give it, you know, sort of cred. And shame on them. You know, shame on you. I hope I never get to the point where I feel the need to jump on the bandwagon of something I know is stupid, just for a couple bucks, you know, just for a couple more Twitter followers, a couple more hits on my YouTube page, you know, just to stroke that tiny internet ego, you know, that, you know, sometimes is undeserved. I mean, anyone can talk on the internet. So to see people I actually do respect, people who are, you know, pro gamers, you know, articulate, smart, funny people being involved with something so lowbrow is being generous to the movie. But just to see my peers, you know, degrade themselves by being involved with this dreck is sad. You know, if they were offering these people millions of dollars and they got on board, yeah, I mean, I would sell myself for $1 million. But but they're not. I mean, they're really doing it for a cheap fame boost, and that's disappointing. It's disappointing. Here's another weird thing. BioWare recently said that putting same-sex romance into Star Wars The Old Republic will take a lot more work than they realized. And, you know, BioWare has had same-sex relationships in a couple games, and that's fine. I have zero problem with two girls, two guys, whatever. Doesn't bother me whatsoever. But you have to wonder, Star Wars The Old Republic has the most amount of story and just voice acting of any game in recent memory. I'm pretty sure they have the most voice acting of any game ever made. You know, planned years in advance. And you gotta wonder if, you know, same-sex romances and stuff like that, if they were actually ever really important to BioWare, why they weren't there from the get-go. And to retroactively go to add them is obviously, you know, a huge endeavor when you have a game as scripted and controlled as Star Wars The Old Republic is. So it means that, you know, if and when it ever actually does happen, it's still a long ways away. But does it even matter at this point? I mean, Star Wars The Old Republic has been bleeding players basically since it started. I mean, after the first month, they hit their high note, and it's just been, you know, slowly fading away. I doubt adding, you know, some girl on girl or guy on guy action is going to give them any sort of real boost. The only reason I mention it is, even with the advances we've made in video game narrative, you know, dealing with race, dealing with, you know, sexual orientation, creed, religion, all that other stuff, it's still not normal enough that we don't have to talk about it. You know, when homosexuality and all these other sort of things get to the point where no one feels the need to talk about them because it's just life. What does it matter? What does it matter? It will be really great. And I'm only disappointed in BioWare just because they're one of the few companies who isn't afraid of the focus group, of the parent and religious groups protesting them, or what Fox News says, because the reality is some developers are cowed by, you know, scandal or negative press. And it would have been cool to see, you know, the same-sex relationships and whatever in Star Wars, not because I really wanted to see them for myself, but just because the more that becomes, you know, if you can date a girl, you can date a guy, that's how life is, you know, and that becomes as normal in video games as it should be in most of our lives. Like, I don't, you know, none of my peers care about that kind of stuff. I mean, we care about the rights and freedoms of our friends, but it's not a, hey, did you hear such and so is dating a guy or a girl or any of that kind of stuff. You know, I hope BioWare goes through with that, because when a big company takes a stand like that, it has a ripple effect. And I hope that they do get to that point soon. And the last thing on the list is kind of funny. And that is that more rumors about the Sony patent for the new PlayStation 4, or whatever we end up calling it. The new patent information, which says there's a possibility that Sony's new product won't allow used content at all. And in response to this, GameStop's stock dropped a little bit, and, you know, people are running to the hills, screaming that, you know, the end of the world is coming. And while it is possible, I mean, it's totally possible that the next PlayStation won't play used content. The reality is, and if you read, you know, the different patent information that's come out, the reality is it's probably going to land somewhere more in the lines of really stringent online pass setups. Because this generation, whether you want to admit it or not, is the last generation for used content. The companies are tired of losing cash to the used market, and things are going pure digital. And pretty soon, owning hard copies of anything will not only be slow, but just impractical. There won't be as much value in it as there used to be. And even collector's edition stuff will eventually go digital. And what you'll do is you'll buy, the collector's edition of whatever. You'll get the digital version, and they'll mail you, whatever couple little extra hard pieces come with your collector's edition. So, yeah, Sony's new patents could say that they're not going to have used content at all. I expect both. I'm 99% certain both Xbox and PlayStation 3, both Xbox and Sony, their new systems will be heavy on the online pass setup. So, yeah, you might be able to still play used games, but you won't be able to go online and play any of the online content, get any of the DLC without an online pass. And for someone like me who already wants to go pure digital, it's no big deal. So that's it for this episode. I still haven't come up with a name for this video log series. So if you have any good ideas, drop them in the comments. Hit me up on Twitter, PacmanPolarBear, or email me at pacmanpolarbear@bigredbarrel.com, and give me some ideas for what we should name this series. Give me some feedback. Tell me why you hated this. Tell me why you loved it. Tell me how much you love seeing, not completely bald, but sexy shaved head, whatever. It's all good. And I will hopefully catch you guys on the flip side. Stay frosty.